Another handcuff lottery ticket running back has entered the chat. MarShawn Lloyd is back from IR. He's practicing. He's got some upside to his game. If the dominoes fall the correct way, you may be needing him for fantasy football. That's why we got to do a deep dive on him today to look at the advanced analytics, his prospect profile, his situation, to see whether or not you need this lottery ticket for your fantasy football team. But what you need to do right now is click that subscribe button, because we're doing deep dives every single day on as many players as possible. All the trending players, it will be here. On top of that, we're going deep on the waiver wire, and we're using these videos to help you set your lineups. Ric Flair's watching you. You do not want to disappoint Ric Flair. Click that button. Stop missing out. But we're starting off with MarShawn Lloyd returning to practice. We're back on the field, and the back end of the season, he will be available for the Packers, which is big news for us because that's another running back for fantasy gamers to pay attention to. Josh Jacobs right now is dealing with a quad. He may or may not be out. We're watching him. I'm not projecting anything with this. We're just watching the news. And this really is not right now part of the analysis. It's just something to note right now. However, when you look at this backfield, it's Josh Jacobs. And he's been the dude in this offense. He's been getting the work. Emanuel Wilson has been good. He's been good for a backup. He's been good as a guy spelling Josh Jacobs. He's dependable. We're going to look at him today as well. This video is not just MarShawn Lloyd, but we're also going to be looking at Manny Wilson. MarShawn Lloyd, though, coming back, they're going to want to test him out, see what they got. Maybe he gets a carry here and there. Maybe he gets to show some of that athleticism. But he's a guy drafted in the third round that you need to pay attention to. But we're going to connect the dots from back in high school during the recruiting process and all the way through college, so you can get a good idea of what this player's about. We do this with all the young players so we can connect the dots on how this player plays the game, because we do not have an NFL sample on this player. That being said, top end prospect coming out of high school, top 10 running back, 4-star prospect, top tier schools, one of them, top tier Power 5 programs, Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, Florida, Penn State, South Carolina. So he was a hot commodity because he's talented. And then we get to South Carolina, we get some injuries, slows him down, and then we go to USC to finish off our career. That's when things kind of come to a head. We get a good look at MarShawn Lloyd, 820 yards, 9 touchdowns, 13 balls caught. The thing about MarShawn Lloyd, I'll definitely say this right now, not overly productive, not overly dominant, not a force at the college level, not living up to his high school profile. However, 3.97 yards after contact per attempt last year, 405 in 2022 with South Carolina. Good numbers with 2 different teams. We have a minor fumbling issue, 8 fumbles on his career, 3 last year, 5 with South Carolina. That's also something to pay attention to. 47 missed tackles forced last year as well. We do have some size and speed that's blended together well with this prospect that allows him to hammer home some large runs. And the open space, catching the ball, he is a guy that can be dynamic. 16.3 yards after the catch per reception. Caleb Williams probably should have targeted him a little bit more last year, because he's able to reel off chunk yards. He had an 8 out of 3. However, Caleb Williams plays off scripts, so that's probably due to that. 10.8 yards after the catch per reception in 2022 and 14 in 2021 is a good indicator, considering that's with another team, that if he's catching balls in the flat for the Packers, that he's going to get you some chunk yards. That's going to be fascinating to see if he starts getting work in this offense. MarShawn Lloyd did well at the Senior Bowl, catching balls out of the backfield. Showcased that he can catch balls out of the backfield. He was electric. He made a lot of money at the Senior Bowl. He gets drafted in the 3rd round to the Green Bay Packers. And that's always a situation when you want to look at the running backs to see what they can do on the field, because they can move the ball, especially now that they have a good batch of wide receivers. They got Love. They're doing some good things. 4.46 40-yard dash, elite speed score. So some good size adjusted athleticism. So when you're looking at a prospect at the running back position who has good draft capital and then also good size adjusted athleticism, All it takes is a few carries, and they could go off and carve out a larger role. But on top of that, when you look at his prospect profile, not overly productive, but there's some good things to his game when you watch him on the tape. Good vision, good burst, good wiggle, good pop in the step. And we saw at the Senior Bowl, good at catching the ball out of the backfield. He does have some soft hands there. Also has a little bit of fumbleitis baked into that. Also some drops baked into that. But still, we got straight upside right now coming back from injury. Emanuel Wilson has been holding it down, has been looking good on the field. So if something does happen to Josh Jacobs, I expect a split. MarShawn Lloyd will get some work, and he has the ability to get more work if he exceeds expectations, lives up to his prospect profile. Emanuel Wilson will be grinding out the tough yards between the tackles, the goal line work, and everything else. Emanuel Wilson has some upside in this offense, and he's getting some work and some opportunities. Not enough to be productive in fantasy football unless he crosses the goal line. But that's an indicator. Say something happens to Wilson and not Josh Jacobs, and we're looking at Lloyd, that he's probably going to get about 5 to 9 opportunities a game. So not enough to make him fantasy relevant unless he starts housing runs or getting catches in the open field and getting chunk plays and earning more. He could definitely do that. That's something to look at. That's what makes him a lottery ticket stash right now. But Emanuel Wilson will be getting some work. Looking at this, Josh Jacobs has been holding it down. 4.8 yards per carry, a solid season right now. Maybe not the greatest for fantasy football, but a solid season nonetheless. And it's been very good for the Packers, soaking up volume. We're looking at MarShawn Lloyd as a lottery ticket, as a handcuff piece with Emanuel Wilson. Josh Jacobs up and down in fantasy. A good RB2 week to week. A good RB2. Solid, steady, getting you over 10 PPR fantasy points, more than likely over 12. Solid, some up games. We got 2 RB1 weeks, 14.7 points per game. Solid running back, been okay, been good, or whatever you want to call it. Packers are averaging 29 rushing attempts per game, top third in the league. They're getting good volume to their running backs. They're using their running backs. They're getting opportunities. That is something to know here in the offense. But it's going to be a battle between Emanuel Wilson and MarShawn Lloyd for the rest of the season. And if something happens to Josh Jacobs, it will be a big battle between the two. MarShawn Lloyd will be more expensive off the fab because everybody's going to be drooling off that size, adjusted athleticism, and being a third-round pick. Emanuel Wilson will be a cheaper pickup off the fab if that happens. But MarShawn Lloyd, right now, I look at him as more of a lottery ticket, more of an upside play. Do you have room for that? And the thing about this versus the field, there's so many handcuff running backs because running backs are not getting hurt right now. So the backup running backs are not really getting opportunities here and there for you to really use them. So you're just stashing. But there's a lot of other stash running backs you may like better. Tyler Allgeier's pretty safe. If something happens to Bijan Robinson, he's going to see a lot of opportunities. He's going to see a lot of touches. You're looking at Jalen Wright, top tier speed, top tier athleticism, taking snaps right now from Mostert, so he might be getting some running back in the season. He's been on the field too. You're looking at a guy like Jonathan Brooks, second round draft capital. Miles Sanders banged up, might come back and get some work. Miles Sanders was running about 12 routes per game, so there is opportunity in this offense next to Chuba Hubbard, and the list just keeps going on. And I have him kind of down there because he hasn't been on the field, but as a lottery ticket, the upside is kind of there due to how he pops on the field as well. All it takes is injuries, and he could be the next guy up. And really, when it comes to this, you're gambling on injuries anyways when it comes to backup running backs. So you pick your poison. If I have Josh Jacobs, I'm more inclined, but I also don't have to because there's a lot of other backup running backs out there that have some upside that could really help your team get over the top or get you an extra runner if injuries do mount up at the running back position, which could happen on any given Sunday because we're under average when it comes to injuries to running backs. But this is just another lottery ticket running back to look at. There's other stash options out there at the running back position that I can really name off, and there's a lot of them. Just pick your poison with these running backs, be strategic, hold them for a bit, drop them, pick another up, do whatever you need to do for your team. But we got another option. The backup running back market is pretty deep right now, and it's an okay thing. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.